Welcome. In this video I'm going to be covering viewing and interpreting ACL permissions. ACL is the acronym for Access Control List, which literally means that a file or directory can have a list of access controls. Or, said another way, a list of controls that identify access permissions for one or more individuals. ls-l is the typical method for checking standard file permissions. It outputs the 10-character permission string, where the first character represents the file type, and the remaining 9 characters represent the read, write, and execute permissions in that order, for the file owner, group owner, and other users respectively. When a file or directory has ACL settings associated with it, you will see the plus character at the end of the permission string. Let's take a look at roster.txt and view both the ls-l and getFacle output. GetFacle includes header comments that identify the file name, file owner, and group owner, as well as the list of ACLs associated with this file. In this case, the file owner, root, has read and write, but not execute permission. Notice that the ls command shows the same values, because for the file owner, standard file permissions and ACL permissions are always identical. In fact, you can use either chmod or setFacle to change them. There is a named user, James, who has no permissions. Named user permissions can only be set with setFacle. The group owner, controller, has read and write only. It was initially set based on the file permissions, but now can only be changed using setFacle. There is one named group, Sodor, which also only has read and write permissions. Again, named groups can only have their permissions set with setFacle. The next entry is the ACL mask. It represents the maximum permissions available to named users, named groups, and the group owner. In this case, read and write. The mask is usually calculated automatically whenever one of the affected ACLs is changed, but it can also be set using setFacle or initially inherited from the parent directory default mask setting. The ls command is showing the mask permissions for the file, and if you attempt to use chmod on the group permissions for the file, then you are actually updating the mask permissions. The last entry is the other users permissions, sometimes referred to as the world permissions. In this case, all other users have no permissions. Like the file owner settings, other file permissions and other ACL permissions are identical and can be seen in the ls command and updated using either chmod or setFacle. You can also view the ACLs on a directory. The output is the same except that directories can have default ACLs associated with them. Default ACLs do not affect the permissions of the directory. The standard ACLs do that. But they do set the initial ACLs on any new file or new subdirectory when it is first created. In most cases, the list of default ACLs will mirror the list of standard ACLs, but it doesn't have to. An entry that appears in this example is the flags comment header. It represents the setuid, setgid, and sticky flags for the directory. Setgid is enabled in this directory. Files can also have this comment header if they have either the setuid or setgid flags set, but this is less common on ordinary user files. The standard directory ACLs operate the same way as the file ACLs. However, you will notice that the execute permission is set for most of the entries, granting directory search permission on each entry that requires it. Finally, permission precedence is applied in the order file owner, named users, group ACLs, and if none of those apply, other user permissions. To recap, ls outputs minimal ACL information, but enough to get a high-level view of permissions. GetFacle shows the details for both files and directories, including default ACLs associated with the directory. The mask limits the maximum permissions for named users, named groups, and the group owner, and permissions are evaluated from user to groups to everyone. That concludes this video. Thanks for watching.